An elevator is the only machine most people enter without thinking. You step inside a small box, the doors close, and for the next few seconds, your life depends on cables, brakes, motors, magnets, glass, pressure, and engineering you cannot see. But some elevators push that trust to the edge. Today, we're counting down the top 9 scariest elevators in the world. Stay until number 1, because the final elevator has no cable, can move sideways, and feels like it belongs to the future more than the present. Before we begin, tell us in the comments which scares you more: heights, speed, darkness, or being trapped in a tiny space. Number 9. Santa Justa Lift, Portugal. This elevator does not hide inside a building. It rises in the middle of a narrow Lisbon street like an iron tower from another century. Picture downtown Lisbon, with steep streets, old stone buildings, pedestrians, tram tracks, and the sound of city life echoing between narrow walls. Then, rising between the buildings, there is a 45-meter iron tower covered in arches, ornamental metalwork, and dark neo-Gothic details. 2 wooden cabins carry passengers upward inside the exposed structure. At the top, a walkway connects the lower Baixa district to the upper Barro Alto neighborhood. From above, the city opens beneath your feet. But when you look down through the ironwork, the street feels very far away. The Santa Justa Lift opened in 1902. It was designed as a vertical shortcut through Lisbon's steep topography, helping people move between the city's lower and upper districts without climbing the hill. By modern standards, it is not extremely tall or extremely fast. That is not what makes it scary. The fear comes from its exposure, its age, and its feeling of mechanical history. This is not a sealed glass elevator inside a modern skyscraper. This is a freestanding iron lift from the early 20th century, still carrying passengers over a century later. You can hear the mechanism. You can feel the age. And you are trusting a structure that began operating before modern aviation truly existed. The lift was designed by a student of Gustave Eiffel, and its ironwork gives it a dramatic old-world atmosphere. But if Santa Justa feels frightening because it is old and exposed, the next elevator takes that exposure to an entirely different level. From an iron tower in Lisbon, we move to a cliff above Lake Lucerne, where a steel elevator climbs straight into the Swiss sky. Number 8. Hammetschwand Elevator, Switzerland. This elevator does not rise inside a building. It climbs the side of a cliff. High above Lake Lucerne, a steel shaft is bolted to the Bergenstock Ridge. The lake lies far below, calm and blue, while the Alps stretch across the horizon. The elevator cab rises along the cliff face, exposed to wind, height, and open air. On one side is rock. On the other side is empty space. As the cab climbs higher, the ground disappears beneath you. The Hammetschwand Elevator is the highest exterior elevator in Europe. It rises 153 meters to an observation platform, but the fear is amplified by where it is located, high on a mountain ridge above Lake Lucerne. The original elevator was built in 1905, making it one of the oldest outdoor passenger elevators in the world. It has been upgraded over time, including a major mechanical replacement in 1992. Still, the experience feels unlike modern urban elevators. There is no comforting building wrapped around you, no hotel lobby below, no ordinary shaft, just a cab moving upward beside rock, wind, and a drop that makes the body ask why it agreed to this. On windy days, passengers can feel the cab sway. It is safe, but perception matters. When your body senses movement in a metal box attached to a cliff, logic does not always win. But Switzerland's cliff elevator is still open to the air in a graceful way. The next one bursts out of a mountain shaft into a glass-fronted drop that makes people scream. From the Alps, we move to China, where an elevator climbs a cliff taller than the Eiffel Tower. Number 7. Beilong Elevator, China. The Beilong elevator begins like a normal ride through rock. Then the mountain opens, and the world drops away. In Zhangjiajie, enormous pillars rise like stone towers from another planet. This is the landscape that helped inspire the floating mountains in Avatar. Bolted to the side of one of these cliffs is the Beilong elevator. The ride begins inside the mountain, dark and enclosed. Then suddenly, The shaft ends. The cab bursts into open air. Glass walls reveal hundreds of stone columns stretching into the distance, while the ground falls straight down beneath the passengers. The elevator holds multiple Guinness World Records, including tallest outdoor elevator, tallest double-deck sightseeing elevator, and fastest passenger elevator with the highest capacity. It replaced a 2-hour mountain hike with a ride that lasts just over a minute. But shortly after opening, operations were suspended for safety and environmental concerns. And demolition was seriously discussed. It eventually reopened and has carried tens of millions of passengers. That history adds tension to the ride. Even when something is operating safely, knowing people once debated tearing it down makes the glass feel thinner. For visitors, Bailong is one of the fastest ways to enter a landscape that feels almost unreal. Tourists loved it, purists hated it. To some, it is a miracle of access. To others, it is a machine bolted to a natural wonder. Either way, the moment the elevator leaves the rock and enters open air is unforgettable. But the Bailong elevator scares people with height and glass. The next elevator scares them with something more intimate, being sealed inside a tiny pod. From a Chinese cliff face, we move to St. Louis, Missouri, where the elevator is not a cab, but a capsule inside a giant steel arch. Number 6, Gateway Arch Tram, United States. To reach the top of the Gateway Arch, you do not step into a normal elevator. You climb into a tiny egg-shaped capsule. The Gateway Arch rises 630 feet above St. Louis, a shining steel curve standing beside the Mississippi River. From the outside, it looks smooth and elegant. Inside, the journey is cramped, mechanical, and strange. Passengers enter small egg-shaped pods, each holding 5 people. The ceiling is low. The walls are close. Most adults cannot stand upright. The pod door closes. Then the capsule begins moving through the curving interior of the arch, tilting and rotating to stay level as the structure bends overhead. The pods move like a cross between an elevator, a Ferris wheel, and a tiny submarine. The ride to the top takes about 4 minutes. During that time, passengers hear mechanical sounds, chains, gears, motors, movement through the steel structure, trusting a system that feels older and stranger than almost any modern elevator. The observation windows at the top are small and angled, but they can offer views of up to 30 miles in every direction. For many, the experience is not just patriotic or scenic, it is psychological. From a tiny pod inside an American monument, we move to Europe, where some elevators never open their doors because they never had doors in the first place. Number 5, Paternoster Elevators, Europe. A Paternoster elevator has no buttons, no doors, and no interest in waiting for you. Imagine standing in front of a moving chain of open compartments. One box rises slowly past you, then another, then another. There is no door sliding open, no soft chime, no button to press. You time your step and walk into the moving compartment while it continues upward. When your floor arrives, you step out while it is still moving. If you miss your floor, you do not panic. You ride over the top of the loop through a dark mechanical passage and come down the other side, at least that is the idea. Paternosters use a continuous loop of small, open cabins, each usually large enough for 1 or 2 people. They were once popular in government buildings and offices because they moved people efficiently. There was no waiting for an elevator to arrive, but efficiency came at a cost. The accident rate for paternosters has been estimated as far higher than conventional elevators. Before 2002, Germany averaged about 1 death per year. Hundreds still operate in parts of Europe. Germany alone still has many, and some people have fought to preserve them. What terrifies one person becomes heritage to another. To regular users, it is part of daily life. But a moving open elevator is frightening enough on land. The next one carries people through the tallest building on Earth. From old European elevator loops, we move to Dubai, where elevators race through a tower that rises 828 meters out of the desert. The tower rises from Dubai like a needle of glass and steel, piercing the desert sky. At its base, visitors step into polished elevator cabs that feel smooth, modern, and luxurious. Then the doors close. The cab accelerates upward. Floors vanish below. Pressure changes. Ears pop. The body realizes it is being lifted through one of the tallest structures ever built by humans. Outside, the tower tapers into the sky. The Burj Khalifa stands 828 meters tall with 163 floors. Its elevators are among the fastest and most advanced in the world. The express elevators travel around 10 meters per second. Express elevators can reach the 120th floor in about 1 minute. That speed is remarkable, but the height makes it more intense. The cab is pressurized, yet many passengers still feel the rapid change. But the Burj Khalifa goes upward into the sky. The next elevator goes downward into the earth, into heat, darkness, and pressure. From Dubai's tallest tower, we descend into South Africa, where miners ride the deepest elevator on Earth. Number 3. Impala Mine Cage, South Africa. This is not an elevator for tourists. It is a steel cage that carries miners into the deep earth. At the surface, the mine looks industrial and harsh. Steel structures, machinery, shafts, cables, and workers in helmets. Then the miners enter the cage. It is a triple-decked steel compartment. The doors close. The shaft is dark. Then the cage drops. Fast. Rock rushes past in darkness. The sound is metal, vibration, air pressure, and controlled descent into a world far below sunlight. The mine cage descends into one of the deepest mining environments on Earth, with tunnels reaching nearly 3.9 kilometers down. At those depths, rock temperatures can reach around 66 degrees Celsius, hot enough to burn on contact. Humidity can exceed 95%. To make the tunnels survivable, the mine pumps huge amounts of ice slurry underground to cool the air. Without that cooling system, the working environment would be lethal. There are also seismic events caused by the removal of rock. In 2020, a seismic event at the mine killed 3 miners. But even the deepest mine cage has a clear purpose. The next elevator was beautiful, surreal, and surrounded by life, until the entire structure exploded. From the depths of South Africa, we moved to Berlin, where an elevator once rose through the center of a giant aquarium. Number 2, Aquadom Elevator, Berlin. The Aquadom Elevator was once one of the most beautiful elevator rides in the world. Then the aquarium around it exploded. Inside the lobby of the Radisson Blu Hotel in Berlin stood a giant cylindrical aquarium, 25 meters tall and filled with around 1 million liters of salt water. Running through its center was a transparent elevator. But on December 16, 2022, around 5:45 in the morning, the acrylic cylinder ruptured catastrophically. 1 million liters of salt water burst through the hotel lobby, flooding the ground floor and spilling into the street. The force was strong enough to blow out windows, damage cars, and register on seismic equipment. 2 people were injured by shards of acrylic and glass. Miraculously, no one was killed. Investigators later attributed the failure to microscopic cracks that had developed in the acrylic over the tank's long life. The tank had also been drained and refilled during the COVID period, which may have contributed to stress on the structure. The fish were not so lucky. About 1,500 tropical fish were sent across the lobby floor when the tank burst. Witnesses described the scene like the aftermath of a tsunami: water, glass, destruction, and dying fish on marble. But Aquadom's fear came from a real collapse. Number 1 is different. It is frightening because it removes the one thing people assume every elevator needs. For number 1, we go to Germany. Number 1 is the ThyssenKrupp Multi, the world's first rope-free elevator system and one of the strangest rides human beings have ever designed. In the small German town of Rottweil stands a concrete test tower rising 240 meters. It has no apartments, no offices, no normal purpose. It exists to test the future of elevators. Inside the tower, a cab moves through a shaft without the usual cable hanging above it. There is no counterweight. Instead, invisible electromagnetic force pushes and pulls the cab through the structure. Then the part your brain does not expect happens. The elevator moves sideways. Every conventional elevator works on a basic agreement. A cab hangs from cables. A counterweight balances the system. A motor moves one side up and the other down. That has been the logic of elevator travel for more than a century. The multi breaks that agreement. It uses linear magnetic motors, similar in principle to maglev train technology, to move elevator cabs without ropes. Because there is no cable, the cab does not have to travel only vertically. It can move up, switch shafts, move horizontally, then continue upward again. That changes what buildings could become. In very tall towers, traditional elevators take up huge amounts of interior space. Some skyscrapers devote enormous floor area to elevator shafts. A multi-directional elevator system could allow multiple cabs to move through fewer shafts, shifting sideways to distribute passengers more efficiently. It is not just a new elevator. It is a new way to imagine buildings. Elevators are so ordinary that we forget how strange they really are. Every ride is an act of trust. Trust in cables, brakes, glass, steel, magnets, and engineers we will never meet. Some elevators frighten us with age, height, speed, darkness, or cramped spaces. And some frighten us because they point toward a future our instincts do not understand yet. Which elevator scared you the most? Would you ride the Baylong elevator, the Gateway Arch tram, the Impala mine cage, the Aquadom elevator before it failed, or the rope-free multi? Let us know in the comments. And subscribe for more cinematic rankings about the world's strangest engineering and terrifying places. In the next video, we'll explore the scariest tunnels in the world, where the road disappears into darkness.